Welcome back, dear ballroom dance friends. Okay, this is a part 2 where we are getting to know our ballroom dance friend, Kelly. And if you missed the part 1, I will post a link in the description below. And so we were talking about Kelly's competitive career, and let's dive back into this. So did you start out competing in international or American, all the above?
American. Mm-hmm. Yeah, American. And in some ways, American competition is really good because you don't have to have the perfect height partner. And one of my best partners was quite a bit shorter than I was, but since we did so much open work, it didn't really matter. I think in the standard height, if you're going to compete, height makes a big difference. So you have to have a partner that you have a good look with and a good top line, but not so much in American style.
And then now that you mentioned that, how many partners have you had over the years?
Several. It's really, really difficult to find a partner, and for an amateur couple to actually get to the competitive dance floor, it takes a lot of work, and almost the stars have to kind of align for you. Before there was the Ballroom Dance Company, there was virtually no support for amateur ballroom dance couples. There was no place to practice. And you probably know this better than anybody. I bet you that was the impetus of the Ballroom Dance Company.
Yeah.
But they're really,
place to dance.
I mean, you're fighting it out at the weightlifting gyms, and they don't want you on there. And then you're on a racquetball court and basketball court and all of that stuff. And they really are, the owners are just not comfortable with people in there doing ballroom dancing. And it's always a struggle to find floor time. Portland is pretty good now, pretty good compared to what it used to be. But like I say, I've had a lot of different partners, and they were all really good to work with, but it's just really hard to get from the first day to the competitive dance floor. It takes a lot to do that.
And I'd be really curious. I notice when I'm getting coaching in England, there's no floor time available anywhere. You aren't even allowed, if you're there for a private lesson, to enter the ballroom until your lesson has started. The only opportunities would be comp rounds at Cheam or Starlight, only right before the major competitions. But then I'm ramrodded on the floor with 50 other couples at once. Like, you're not really practicing. It's just more like working up the nerves with all these other people around you. So I definitely, if you live in the United States, you're lucky. You probably, hopefully, have some floor time available to you, even if it's at a fee. I think it's totally worth it. And so how did you meet those partners?
Well, ballroom dancing is a small circle of people, and so it's not difficult to find somebody that wants to compete. There just is, everybody knows everybody, and when somebody comes along that wants to do that, and if you were looking for a partner, it's not hard to find somebody.
So how does that come up in conversation? Do they just see you're a good dancer, like, hey, are you interested in competing, or?
Well, usually, for me, it's always been, you go to these dances, these social dances, and you find somebody, and you need to practice together to get better. You can't just meet and dance. It takes a little bit more than that. It takes taking lessons from the same instructor. It takes practicing those lessons. And eventually, you want to do more than just dance on a Friday night. You want to, do a showcase or do a competition or some kind of round, buy a costume. And so it usually just evolves from just having fun dancing together to, you want to just do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then, life changes and people move and stuff like that. So then you break up and then you go find somebody else and do it again.
So related to that, you've mentioned you really kind of your big goal in dancing has always been to dance as much as possible. How many days a week do you dance? And do you social dance, take group classes, private lessons? Do you teach?
Well, I don't teach at all. I never have. Well, now it's changed over the years. But now there really is an opportunity to dance at least once a weekend. And my partner and I, we practice in the morning probably 2 to 3 times a week. Currently we take group lessons in the evening on Tuesday and Wednesday. So a lot, sometimes twice a day. And that's a lot, but it's really good exercise and I enjoy it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. But there's a lot of opportunity in Portland and a growing opportunity in Eugene, which I'm familiar with as well. So it's coming out of COVID, everything was down, but now it seems to be really popular, and just the opportunity to dance is big. It's really, really good now.
So do you have a favorite dance style? I mean, do you do more than ballroom? Do you do salsa, West Coast, hustle? And of all the dances, what's your favorite?
Well, I'm just a shade old to dance much Latin anymore, and I never was very good at it. But my roots, just like I said, they're in that Arthur Murray, where we danced everything. So I don't enjoy going to the dances where they only dance West Coast swing, or they'll only dance Argentine tango, or they only dance salsa. I just get bored doing that. I need to have a variety of everything. And I'm good for one salsa a night, but I only have about 6 or 7 moves, and I get bored doing that over and over again. So I need all of the dances to be played and to really have a good full evening.
And so, this, Kelly brings up a great point here. I feel the same way. Obviously, I have a soft spot for the international standard, but when I built the Ballroom Dance Company, I literally built it, the facility. One of the reasons I had 3 full-size ballrooms is I was totally inspired by a studio I went to in Utah. And they had 3 different rooms. They weren't huge, but I went to a social dance there where you paid admission to go to one dance. And when you got bored of doing salsa, hey, I go to the Lindy Hop room. When I get bored of doing that, I migrate over to the ballroom dance room, and I'm like, okay, this rocks. One day I shall make this happen. So I totally agree. It's fun to mix it up a little bit, keep you on your toes. So do you ever take private lessons?
Yeah, I do. There was a time I took a lot of private lessons, not so much anymore. But my advice to anybody listening is, if you're going to take private lessons, get yourself a partner so you can practice. Say you take 1 a week, the rest of the week you practice it will just rocket your progress if you can do that. So many people, they take a lesson and they don't do anything until the next lesson. And that's the advantage of a partner. You can practice what you learned in the lesson. I think that's the one big advantage.
And now you've mentioned that you've competed pro-am and amateur with amateur partners. What do you think the benefits were for each of those?
Well, just that. Pro-am, I can afford to practice with my pro hour after hour, but an amateur partner, as much as you care to practice, you can practice if you have the facility. And it like I say, it just skyrockets your ability to learn. There's just no question about it. An amateur partner gives you access to so much more time dancing than pro-am. I don't know, everybody has their thing, and some people want to dance pro-am, and that's great. But to really learn, I think you need to go through the hoops with an amateur partner. You got to go through that fire.
Yeah, I could not agree more, guys. I always encourage my students, if they can possibly find an amateur partner and compete amateur, meaning with an amateur partner instead of pro, where they compete with the pro, to do that. There are some students where pro genuinely is the better option. Maybe they personality-wise, it does take a great deal of patience and time and hard work to progress as an amateur, but I do feel it's worth it in the amateur because you independently can dance well. I don't need to be hanging on my pro to be an awesome dancer. But I do feel for people, from my experience, I've had students that are like, no, I just want to dance with you. I just want to dance with you. You feel good. I'm like, well, I would like you to feel good too, though. But you know what? I do love doing both, but I do encourage people, if they have all that time, to go ahead and take on that bigger challenge of the amateur partner. I feel it pays off. And it's cheaper, you know? We all have a limited budget, well, most of us. And so how many days a week do you practice? You said 3?
Yeah, that's typical.
And then how long are those practices?
Well, like I say, I'm 63 and I'm a man of questionable health, so I'm good for about an hour.
Okay, and that's
after
great.
that, my feet start to hurt, my back starts to hurt, so that's what I'm good for.
Mm-hmm. I did 2 hours a day, but even if you're in great shape, just mentally, it's a bit much. You can get a little peaked and cranky towards the end there. So
Yeah.
I think you're on the right track there.
I've never been a great one for dance camps. I don't know, I can only absorb so much information, and like say, a 45-minute lesson, if you really get down to it, there's plenty of information is imparted to work on that week.
How many teachers have you taken with over the years? Actually, you know what, guys? We're over the 10-minute mark again. I am loving talking to Kelly. I'm sure you are too. I'm going to continue with that question in a follow-up video. If you missed part 1, definitely check out the description. And we will be back as soon as possible with more fabulous, interesting stories from a very experienced ballroom dancer, Kelly. So thanks for joining us today, guys. We'll see you first thing in the morning. Bye.